The media has blood on its hands, okay? Because the death of Jason Arday is not suspicious as the police are reporting it. He was the victim of a huge smear campaign run by right-wing media.
If we think about the types of individual that occupy these spaces historically, they do tend to be white middle-class men. And if you have, for example, a woman occupying that space, but having a woman in that space provides a different perspective. It decenters that narrative. Having a person of colour decenters that narrative. Having somebody that may have a visible or non-visible disability decenters that narrative.
This is a huge blow to the black community. I was on Instagram yesterday and I saw that it was reported that Jason Arday, who was a professor at Cambridge University, was found dead at his South London apartment yesterday. And honestly, I'm particularly really concerned about this. And we're going to get into all of the other things in a moment. But as you know, I make content for women, okay, to empower women. I represent black women. You'll be so surprised at how much such a scary, tragic, and is even above unfortunate at this point of a situation can occur. And I'll tell you why. Us black women, especially here in the UK, are raising young black men. We are raising young black boys to become black men. You know, whether you guys like it or not, and this is to my brothers out there, if you're watching, you come from us. And so when we see people like Professor Jason Arday, who has such a compelling story of how he went from a Ghanaian, by the way, I've just found that out yesterday as well, born of Ghanaian parents, okay, raised in South London, and he was 41 years old, so he's more or less in my age group as a millennial. To go from raising your child, okay, your young black son in London, to building himself up from his background of having developmental delay. He was diagnosed with autism at the age of 3, to then becoming a professor at Cambridge University, giving hope to us black mothers who are raising our black sons. You don't understand how much it even is a blow to us, and even another thing to add to our anxiety. Now, please, you guys, I don't want to make this about us. I beg your pardon, my microphone dropped. I'm not making this about us, okay? But as I said, this affects us more than you can imagine, okay? Because it's absolutely terrifying as a black mother to raise our black children, let alone our sons, who when they walk out and outside, you know, they run the risk of gang violence and, you know, getting into police trouble, police brutality, etc., etc., and just ending up not having a fruitful life in this country because of everything that is against them. And the smear that was run against Jason Arday in the past couple of weeks is an example as to why a lot of us are worried. And so when I saw the news broke out last night that he had died, immediately my thoughts went to the unthinkable, unfortunately, of what may have happened to him. But we're going to get into that in a moment. Just to give you a bit of a background, Jason Arday was a British sociologist, and he became the youngest black professor from Cambridge University. And you know what? Up until a few weeks ago, I didn't even know about this guy to that degree. Like, I had seen his face here and there. And I remember when he was first given this role in about 2023, he was about the age of 37 at the time. I was like, wow. Again, as a black woman raising young black boys, I have a hope that my son can get to that level of success. This is confirmation that, you know, in London we can raise our young black boys to becoming something huge. We can raise our young black boys to becoming the hope of the future, to have that almost kind of shatter a lot of our dreams that our black men can't even have positions like that without being scrutinized for it. Anyway, he was appointed professor of sociology of Cambridge University, and his work was focused particularly on inequality, race, higher education, neurodiversity, and education.
If we think about the types of individual that occupy these spaces historically, they do tend to be white middle-class men. And if you have, for example, a woman occupying that space, and I use the word occupying to kind of suggest that these are spaces that we occupy, it doesn't belong to anyone. You know, it's almost like you're a gatekeeper, and then you pass it on, and then people add knowledge to that place that we're keeping. It's always been the same thing, the white middle-class male that occupies the kind of canon's knowledge.
And I chuckled this then, because I'm telling you, boy, was he in a very, very, very powerful position that the right-wing whites would have never stood for him to still remain in that place. And this is why they ran that evil, wicked smear campaign against him to end his life. Yes, the media killed Jason Arday. So it was reported that Cambridge had announced an independent investigation into his appointment shortly before his death. And as I said, I honestly wasn't following Jason's work. I was absolutely excited to see a young black man become a professor. But I had to take it upon myself as to why this man keeps coming in my feed. I don't even follow anybody on social media. I definitely don't watch the mainstream news, but I couldn't escape Jason's face. So I took it upon myself a few days ago to actually just look about what was happening. And it was reported that he was being accused of plagiarism. I was like, is that it? Is that it? Yes, it is a minor thing to have that level of scrutiny, to have that level of shaming. And the fact that it was so highly publicized, even more than when he was given the appointment, because that's what we should have been seeing more of. We should have been seeing more of this celebration. But no, that was dimmed. What we wanted to do, okay, was smear him to the point of no return. Because Cambridge University, oh, it's wonderful. Yeah, it's great. It's a great school. Eton College, all of that stuff. Amazing. However, you know, he was also about to publish, I think he had just published his own book. So as much as Cambridge University is something to celebrate, this man was a force on his own. With the right support and backing from his own community, i.e. the black community, if we could be bothered, because sometimes a lot of the time as well, we kind of dismay these type of amazing opportunities to have someone from our community reach such level of success, okay? He was about to be a force in itself without Cambridge, I'm telling you. So he was about to, or he just released a memoir called Great and Unfortunate Things just before his death. So it actually hasn't been publicized of the cause of death, but I'm sure a lot of us kind of got a bit of a feeling of what it possibly could have, because of course my mind has gone to the worst of the worst, but all the same it could be speculated that it was a suspicious attack. It was a suspicious thing that has happened, although the police has classed it as unsuspicious. Are you sure about that? I believe that if anything, an investigation really needs to be launched into what exactly happened to Jason. As I said, this was a London-born man from Ghanaian parents. His name was Jason Arday. I don't know if he's a twin, because Ata is usually a twin. Arday. NC Oye Ghana Nipa. He's one of us. That is an Akan name, Ata. As I said before, he was diagnosed at age 3 with autism, so he had developmental delay. By the age of 11 is when he actually started to talk. Then by the age of 18, he started to read and write. This man then went on to doing a marathon challenge, okay, in 2010, where he organized a challenge to complete 30 marathons in 35 days, beginning in July 2010, raising money for charities including Shelter and Shooting Star Children's Hospices. His contemporary, Just Giving page confirms that the marathon challenge was genuinely advertised and undertaken. This man wanted to make a difference in this world. Why does this happen to good people? It's so interesting that such a smear can be put on someone who's actually putting in the work. Okay, he's actually putting in the work. And by the way, I really doubt that Jason really wanted to receive such an praise for his work. Okay, I think if anything, when he was first announced as the youngest professor of Cambridge, this was Cambridge making themselves look good. Because of course, it's so good, especially in around 2023, just after, the pandemic, just after Black Lives Matter, etc. There's a lot of institutions that want to say, well, actually, we too are for the blacks in it. This wasn't a thing where he was, launching his own press release. Not to say he didn't have a hand in it, but this makes Cambridge look good. Okay, this makes Cambridge University look good. And so it's interesting how all of a sudden it goes from, praising him for receiving such an amazing opportunity to be a youngest professor from this university to then being smeared left, right and center. So apparently even the marathons he was running, the marathons he was running that showed evidence of the fact that it was actually genuine, that had also been disputed. In 2015, he got his PhD. Plagiarism is such a minor thing for us to be getting our knickers in a twist, to be honest with you. It's such a minor thing compared to the axe murderers, compared to the rapists out there, compared to the child molesters who are there. And they're even a part of the media and the higher people as well, by the way. Compared to these people who do all of this craziness, plagiarism is an absolute minor. And regardless of that, even if the accused is true, at the end of the day, this man's PhD wasn't a lie, okay? His accolades and all of the things that he achieved prior to even becoming the youngest Black professor in Cambridge history, okay? Despite all of that, everything else seems to have been legit, right? So did he deserve this level of scrutiny from the media? So why on earth have we just lost one of our brothers? Why have we just lost one of our men? As I was stating before, you have no idea of how many Black mothers are anxiously raising our Black children, particularly our Black sons in this United Kingdom, especially in London. Let me tell you a quick story. I met Stormzy's mum, our very own Stormzy, yeah? I met Auntie Abby at an event. This was in 2024. And the first thing I said to her is, Auntie, I am so thankful and hopeful to a woman like you who was able to raise Stormzy in an area such as Croydon, South London, okay, to becoming the star that he is today. And I said, Auntie, I moved to Cambridge. I can't be in here this London because I'm honestly very worried. They run the risk of racial profiling, which obviously discourages them. They don't get enough mental health support. They're also in positions where, because they are limited with resources to support their higher educational needs, they end up in, coming across bad company. And likelihood as well is they end up in, gang violence, street crimes, etc., etc. And then all of that topped up with police brutality and just the system isn't built for Black men. Okay? Let's have this real conversation. Black men. I still believe in us, despite all of what you have done to us, your mother and your sister and your daughters. Despite a lot of the things that we have to put up when we have to deal with Black men, I still believe in it because there are Jason Ardays out there. And women like me are raising our young kings to become powerful men. But let me tell you something that might just be an issue as well. Some of us might be haters, and I say that as well. I saw on it actually was in the Shade Borough, but somebody, this hot breath brother who claimed to have known Jason Arday from primary school, claimed that he was a chatty patty.
Jason Arday, you know. Ah, man, he's moving wild. Listen, I knew it was a joke thing, and I knew it was fraud from man said he was a mute. What do you mean, bro? I went to school with you, bro. I was in primary school with you. You and my brethren Nibs, class clowns, chatty patty, all the time, bro. What do you mean you was a mute? Listen, I knew it was a joke thing, you get me? The Ardays. This is what we used to call them, the Ardays. Their man used to be like Michael Jackson and that. The mum, the dad, and his brother Joseph. They all had mini afros. All of them, bro. When I saw him in the picture and I saw long dreads, look like extension tats, I was thinking, who's this? But yeah, bro, it's bait. You should have known it was going to be peak for you, bro. You should have known they were going to dig up. No one don't want to see you in that position. Joke, man. This got us looking mad now. Got us looking mad.
He was a chatty patty. He was talking up to the age of 11. Yeah, him and his brother with their afros. This guy, yeah, this hater also chimed in on the backlash. You should have stood beside your brother. You know, whatever happened to, if you don't have anything good to say, just don't say it at all. Because what you did was you added into the backlash. You added into the scrutiny and the smear against your own brother. I'm so sorry, but this makes me think that a lot of you guys, you do need some extra therapy or some extra mental health support, because a lot of our brothers are not quite correct up there. I'm sorry, and I'm going to say it with my whole chest. And when I see his own kind literally drag him through the mud, you're even closer to him than all of us. Who are we? Who is the media? They actually don't owe him a thing, although they are responsible for his death, and this is why blood is on their hands. But this particular individual who claims to know him, who claims that he was a chatty patty, had every opportunity to actually back him, okay? Because he knew him, right? But yet and still, you wanted to jump on the clout and you wanted to get into the conversation. You know, whatever happened to, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say it at all. I was shocked to see, and when I went back on TikTok last night, the post's gone, of course. That just brings me on to the media. There's blood on your hands. As I said, it hasn't been reported as to what is the cause of death, because I'm making this video in the morning of the 15th of August. But regardless, this, whether he, you know, was too stressed to cope with the amount of pressure coming at him from the media to what took him away from us, or whether he took his own life, or whether somebody else took his life. I cannot help but believe that this happened because of what he's recently been going through in the past couple of weeks. They was getting ready to even do worse to this man, and he couldn't take it. And that just brings me on to the point of, you know, I actually don't watch mainstream news. I think it's a low vibrational, low load of nonsense. I think the last time I watched the news was when the pandemic was running. That's 6 good years ago. And even before that, I wasn't into the news. My source of information comes from YouTubers. You know, sometimes blogs, but mainly YouTubers like, let's say, Lovely Tea or anything. I know she does celebrity news and stuff, but for the most part, she also even does serious things. Yeah, that's where I get my source of information. Because to me, it's more authentic than what the mainstream media are pumping at the main public. And what they was doing was absolutely just monstering this man. The mainstream media is responsible for so much. In fact, let me show you how much they were being reported. They were reporting this. According to NewsCord, this is an Instagram page. In the past 9 days, because he resigned from his position on the 5th of August. And between that and today, or yesterday night when we got that news, 188 media articles was run at this one individual for plagiarism. Something as minor as that. Yes, it's a minor. So over the past 22 days, 249 articles, the Time and Sunday Times at the top, okay? They ran countless of articles targeting Jason Arday. After that, the Daily Telegraph, okay, the Telegraph. Then the Daily Mail, the Independent, the Spectator, the Guardian, Daily Express, BBC News, Times, This is the amount of news outlets who were scrutinizing Jason Arday for plagiarism. Okay? And it's interesting because the same report also shows that this isn't new. Okay? There's a lot of people who have had leading professor roles in top universities, etc., such as Rachel Reeves, who lied on her CV and accused of plagiarism. Jonathan Reynolds falsely claimed to be a solicitor. Matt Godwin accused of fabricating quotes. But they are all white. And guess what? Dr. Arday was black, a black man. They are alive and he is not. And that just goes to show, okay, that of course this was a racist smear campaign against this man. It's interesting because of course I had to go and pre, okay? Telegraph has reported 13 hours ago, so of course it was one of the first. And they've taken away the comment section. I wonder why. Why can I not comment? Why can I not comment the Telegraph? And shortly after that as well, the Times also have reported and the comment section is closed. But thankfully we did have newspapers who are for us, okay? The Voice newspaper stood by him. And it said, "We stand with Jason. Campaigners, MPs and academics reject right-wing smear campaign." Okay, and it was signed off. I think there was a letter coordinated by the Law Project, attracted support from prominent figures, including Lord Simon Woolley, Professor Dame Ijeoma Uchegbu, Sonia Elaine, Professor Kehinde Andrews, Miss Sen Harriman, love that man to bits, Daniel Kibede, St. Patrick Vernon, Lord Paul Boateng, John McDonnell MP, Bell Ribeiro Adi, our very own Bell, Clive Lewis MP, Dr. Shola Moss Shaman, I'm so sorry, Dr. Shola, we know our girl Dr. Shola, and voice columnist Lester Holloway. But there's only a few of us, you know, there's only a few of us, and I have been very much fixated on a lot of my content to do with obviously the support of women. I've got a very important video coming out tomorrow regarding a domestic abuse situation that happened to one of our sisters a few years ago. That will be coming out tomorrow on my YouTube channel. I intend on getting this out today. I don't usually come and do reports. I don't usually, but as I said, this affects us than we actually know, or than we can actually realize as black women raising our young black sons. And this is why I can't with the mainstream media. I actually am going to be introducing to you guys soon one of my partners who have built a social media platform, okay, and it's essentially a media platform. It's actually mood stimulated, so you actually get content based on your mood. That is how the algorithm, if we want to call it that, is set up, as opposed to the traditional algorithm based of likes and shares and engagement. And it's a place where we can have honest conversations, and we are not going to be set back or pulled back, or, you know, we're going to be dimmed down. We're going to be able to have our own conversations and release our own coverage, content, etc. that really speaks on our community in the positive light that it is, and honestly have honest conversations like what we're having now. So it looks like the first major warning sign that Jason Arday was a target was in September 2025, where Times Higher Education was preparing a major investigation in September 2025 with the allegations concerning Arday's PhD and journal publications. His PhD, which I'm pretty sure was in black and white, right? What was you investigating? Now, I'm going to go back to what I could see was a threat to them. This was a man who focused heavily on race and inclusion and inequality and higher education. He had in his hands the power to really put a lot of black people on.
So there are reasons why someone might extrinsically want to help someone, which are often material. And there are reasons intrinsically why somebody is motivated to want to help someone. Bird of familiarity and design. Why are those individuals of black and ethnic minority backgrounds, why do they reside in the lower echelons and chambers of an organisation?
One thing that they are afraid of us, black people, is when we have education, when we have the capacity to positively influence our community from being educated. This is something they cannot take. Jason Arday had a lot of power in his hands. Okay, his work was focused heavily on race and inequality and higher education, and so as you can imagine, this man was moments away from really positively influencing our community. And let me tell you something, he could have done all of that without Cambridge. And so what they wanted to do was destroy him before he could even start anything. Now, I'm hoping to this point, a lot of his work is still going to be something that we as black people can take and continue to positively influence our community. Once the black man is able to overcome stereotypes and overcome things that are against them, they have the power to rule the world. Don't ever forget that there was a time on this globe that black people ruled the world. The Mansa Musas, the Cleopatras, we had it all, you guys, and that was stripped away from us. And here we are in 2026, fighting to climb up again. So speaking of black media, I know that there's blogs, I know that there's forums, I know that there are platforms designed to create content about certain individuals and what is trending. The Shade Borough, I'm so sorry, but you're going to have to receive a little heat as well. Can you please tell me why every single post that has been run for the past couple of weeks had Jason's image at the end of everyone? So not even just Jason's own particular posts. Other images or other posts that were trending, at the end of it, then they had an advertisement of some sort with Jason as the headliner of each single one of those posts. I actually looked back since and it looks like it's been deleted. I wonder why. Media has a responsibility to be in the supporting side of your very people. I mean, if the Times, the Telegraph and the Daily Mail are doing what they're doing, at the end of the day, I think at this point, wisdom would tell you that they clearly are against us. But bringing our own down and adding to the mess of it all is something that is seriously questionable. Black British Culture is a platform which I would perceive to be somewhat similar to the Shade Borough, but not in a shady way. They rather just promote things that are actually positive in the black community, and they run stories as a blog page that is impacting and useful for the black community. So they reported one of the UK's largest black run social media platforms, the Shade Borough, is facing backlash following Jason Arday's death, with many accusing the platform of contributing to the online pile-on against him in the days before he died. 100% certain, because I saw that with my own eyes. Shade Borough, you didn't help. And you know, with a platform as large as yours, I know you're not on the shade room levels, but is relatively large to impact and influence our community. There's ways that you can do reporting, but you stand in solidarity of the accused, just the way The Voice newspaper did. The Voice newspaper never jumped on the bandwagon. They stood with Jason. And that's exactly what the Shade Borough should have done. No one says don't report uncertainty and what's happening, because that's what media outlets do for the most part. But was you in solidarity with Jason? No. In fact, I really do worry about what platforms like the Shade Borough does to our community. As much as, you know, the very odd occasion you might get a positive post, I just feel like it adds into the dog pile that is thrown at us daily. it does not help the community or the culture whatsoever. To lose such a powerful person in a world where we are not considered is devastating. Anyway, you guys, thank you for watching. Please look out for the video that I'm going to release tomorrow. God willing, it's out tomorrow. It's a domestic abuse story that I had been working on last week. Love you. See you soon. So as I shared, it has not been quite reported on the actual cause of death at this stage, but I read that Sir Simon Baron-Cohen, which is the director of the Autism Research Centre and a professor at Cambridge, said he had seen Arday's mental health deteriorate in recent contact. He referred to relentless scrutiny and said Arday felt he couldn't go on. Daniel Kebede, the General Secretary at the National Education Union, criticised what he called a public and brutal takedown that unleashed a tirade of racism. Jason Arday leaves behind a wife and 2 children.